and welcome back. So before we get started with turn 2, I need to fix a mistake that I made during my initial setup. In my initial setup, I said that each of the platoons got one of the rifle grenades and that any squad in the platoon could use that when it was necessary. Turns out that's completely wrong. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go ahead and attach the rifle grenade for each platoon to a squad with each platoon. And what I'm going to do there is just assign that to the third platoon in each of the, or third squad in each of the platoons, just to have them someplace. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do next. Okay, with that out of the way, we can go ahead and start turn 2. The first thing we're going to do is check to see if there are any friendly HQ events. So again, we turn the card over and we look for that HQ marker, and there is not one on that card, so there are no friendly HQ events for this turn. So with that, we can go ahead and worry about activating our commanders. So our CO is still sitting in the staging area. That means that he has is in contact with battalion, so he can be activated this turn. We'll go ahead and draw for his activation. Again, right now we're at no contact, so we have a +1 on the draw for that, but our CO is green, so that's a -1. So we'll see what we get with that. And we end up with a terrific draw on that turn. So we now have 5 turns for the CO. So the CO is going to come up here to 5 turns. Now again, most of the time the CO's role is just what we're going to do this turn, and that's simply to activate his other units. So we're going to go ahead and take advantage of this great draw here of 5 commands. And we're going to go and activate all 3 platoons. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd platoon. And we'll go ahead and activate the 1st sergeant. So that's going to use a total of 4 commands. And we'll go ahead and save the CO's last command. And that'll finish his turn. And we'll give him his 1 saved command. Now we get to draw for the next level of leaders, so our platoon leaders and the 1st sergeant. So I'll just do those in order, 1, 2, 3, and the sergeant. So we'll start with the 1st platoon. And 1st platoon is going to start off with 4 draws this turn. So that's a great draw. Again, -1 for being green, +1 for being at no contact, so he still gets to keep his 4 draws. Draw for 2nd platoon. 3, again the same modifiers, -1 and +1, so 2nd platoon is going to get 3 commands. 3rd platoon, also going to get 3 commands, the same -1, +1. And finally the 1st sergeant, because he's line, doesn't suffer the -1 penalty that the other leaders suffer for being green. So his only modifier right now is for the no contact, which means he's going to get +1 to the draw of 2. So the 1st sergeant ends up with a draw of 3. Now let's see what we're going to do with these commands. Okay, I want to go ahead and take advantage of the good draw that the 1st platoon HQ had. He had a draw of 4, plus he still has 2 saved commands that he can use. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go and start off with a platoon move into the village. So I'm just going to kind of move 1-1 out of the way, and the entire stack here moves into the village on a platoon move. So that's going to cost me 2 commands to make that move. And of course, all of those units are now exposed because they've moved. I'm going to order 1-1, the unit that was in the village. I'm going to go ahead and move 1-1 forward. So that's another command. So now I'm at 3 commands down. And again, 1-1 is going to end up exposed for that move. Again, I'm trying to push pretty quick to get into these cards so that I can get them revealed and start getting them cleared. Okay, now I need to see about finding some cover. So I'm going to go ahead and order 2-1 to try to seek cover here. So 2-1 is going to do a seek cover. Again, this card, we have 4, and we can have up to 3 cover markers. So I'm going to draw 4 cards to see if we get cover on any of those 4 cards. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So sure enough, I ended up with cover on a couple of cards. Again, even though I drew cover on the 2nd card, I want to make sure I draw all 4 of those cards every time. So I found cover. Now in Normandy, when you're in an urban environment, which you can tell by the little house symbol in the lower left corner, you get to draw to find out whether you find a strong building or just a +1 cover marker. And basically on a draw of 1 to 3, you get a strong building, and on a 4 or 5, you get a +1 marker. So we're going to draw to see what we get. Whoops, I got the reshuffle, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my one last card just to finish out this turn. And on my 5, I got a 3. A 3 means I got a strong cover marker. So I'm going to go ahead and find my strong building marker. And in addition to that, because this village is marked with the multi-story icon, I get to go ahead and place an upper story marker on here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and place my strong building marker. And I'm just going to put my upper story marker just kind of off to the side. These are really one cover marker. And because I split that, I'm going to go ahead and mark the second squad as exposed as well. So he was already exposed. The only legal move that a unit can make while exposed is to cover, and so that was a legal command to command him to seek cover. I could not have commanded him to move to any other card, for example, because he was marked as exposed. Okay, so now I've used 4 of my commands for first platoon. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 more, and I'm going to go ahead and order the first platoon, or first squad, or I'm sorry, third squad and the HQ to go ahead and into that cover marker as well. So first platoon HQ and the third squad carrying that rifle grenade are going to go ahead and move into the strong building with 2-1. And right now nobody is going to be sitting in the upper story marker or upper story location. So that's going to leave my first weapons bazooka and my first weapons 30 cal exposed and in the open, and not under marker. I just didn't have enough commands to move them in. So now that I've actually used every command that first platoon had available, all 4 of the ones he was allocated this turn plus the 2 saved commands, I'm going to move on to second platoon. And second platoon is going to be really straightforward on this one. I'm simply going to move the 1-2 platoon forward, or 1-2 squad forward into the hedgerow ahead. And we'll start working on clearing out more of these PC markers. So we move, and again we are exposed. Having some fun with these counters. Finally, we got to see what we're going to do with the third platoon. Okay, so that cost me 1 command for second platoon. Now, I'm not going to do anything else with second platoon this turn. And second platoon already has its 3 commands saved. Remember, it is a green unit, and 3 is the maximum number of commands that a green leader can save from turn to turn. So what that means is I'm basically wasting the last 2 commands here. But since I don't really have anything else for that unit to do, I'm going to go ahead and waste that command, and that's life. Now we'll move on to third platoon and start moving those units up. Okay, third platoon is basically going to mirror the moves that the first platoon made. We're going to first order a platoon move up and into the cover marker that already exists. And I'm going to go ahead and just move that over there because the next move is going to be, and that cost me 2 commands, the next move is going to be to move the 3-3 squad forward into the hedgerow ahead. And again, we're going to have an exposed marker for that unit. So that was 2 commands for the platoon move, plus 1 more command for the 3-3 moving up. And so I'm going to have used all 3 of the third platoon commands that have been allocated. And that's going to be everything for third platoon. Finally, first sergeant is actually not going to do anything on this turn other than bank the commands that he was allocated. So he already had 1 command saved from the prior turn. So the 1 command plus the 3 that were allocated is going to mean he's going to end this turn with 4 commands saved. With all the commands activated, all that's left now is the initiative state, and at this point the company XO is the only officer left to be commanded. So being the company XO, he's automatically going to get his 1, and again we're not going to do anything with him, so I'm just going to move his saved marker up 1 space, so now the XO has 2 saved commands. And with that, we're ready to go ahead and draw for initiative, the general initiative. Okay, we'll draw from our freshly shuffled deck our initiative. And our general initiative, we get 3, which is great because that's how many squads I got out there without leaders at the moment. So with these general initiative commands, I'm going to go ahead and seek cover for each of my 3 exposed units that have just landed on potential contacts. So I'm going to go ahead and just work from left to right. So we'll go ahead and draw 4 cards for the 3/3 that's moved forward. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we did find cover for this unit. Discard those and grab a cover marker. That's just going to be a +1 cover for that. We'll go ahead and now draw for the unit down in the hedgerow. So again, 4 cards for that. There's 1, 2, 3, and time to reshuffle yet again, and 4, and no cover for that unit. And finally, we'll go ahead and draw for the 1/1 squad. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we do find cover for the 1/1. Okay, with the general initiative out of the way, it's time to go ahead and move on to the enemy HQ phase. So we'll draw for the enemy HQ event. Okay, with general initiative out of the way, we'll go ahead and draw for the enemy HQ event. And again, this time there is no enemy HQ event.